Hello and welcome to the Spark and the Forge podcast. I'm Subrata, and this is where we unpack the boldest shift in tech, startups, and leadership. Today, we are diving into what many call India's startup revolution, where local resilience meet global ambition. But beneath the headlines, it is also a quiet evolution built on decades of mentorship, deep tech bets, and ecosystem first thinking. Now, let me take you to a moment. I was at a demo day at TiE Hub in Hyderabad recently, catching up with another mentor. We started swapping stories, but the kind of startups that don't always make the headlines, but really stay with you. One team based right here was using AI to catch defects in factory production. Real time quality control, simple, smart, quietly transforming how local factories work. Then there was a founder from Pune building clean energy marketplace for farmers. Solar, biogas, even wind, everything tailored for rural India with local language support and last mile delivery. And another team was working on automating industrial workflows, connecting machines across the floor, helping big manufacturers run smarter and leaner. No hype, no unicorn talk, just sharp, grounded work focused on real problems and solving them with care. And that got me thinking. What's driving India's startup story? Not the buzz, the quiet energy, the ecosystem humming beneath. It is not about unicorn anymore. It is about scaling ecosystem beyond metros, building deep tech for local challenges, and mentoring founders through the highs and the lows. You see, India is on fire. A national AI mission, bold semiconductor plans, India stack going global. Startup hubs are now rising in Coimbatore and Bhubaneswar, not just Bengaluru. But here's the question: how do we turn this energy into global force, resilient, inclusive, and human first? Specifically, how do we link the tier 2 and tier 3 founders to the global markets? Can India's deep tech, AI, chips, digital infrastructure shape the future? And what makes mentorship a game changer for the founders? And that is why I am so thrilled to talk with Murali Bukkapatnam, Chair of TiE Global. You have heard of TiE, the Indus entrepreneurs, but you might not realize just how far it actually reaches. Murali's journey, starting in the small town in Hindupur in Andhra Pradesh and stretching across Hyderabad, Silicon Valley, and Washington, D.C., is a story of perspective, purpose, and global impact. Today, he leads one of the world's most connected entrepreneurial network. In this conversation, we explore how TiEs is empowering entrepreneurs across the ecosystem, why India's big tech bets, AI native apps, chip design, infrastructure enablers, special language models, and more are quietly rewriting the rules, and how mentorship continues to be a critical force in helping founders navigate uncertainty. So whether you are a founder, tech leader, investor, or just curious about what's coming next, this one is for you. So let's get started. Morley, welcome to the Spark on the Forge podcast. First of all, it's so great to have you on. How are you?
I'm good, Subrata, and thank you for having me. Absolutely looking forward to this conversation.
I have been looking forward to speaking to you, and I will tell you why. First, your work with TiE, you help extend, in my mind, the TiE's reach beyond metros, and that means you're giving real access to the founders who usually get overlooked many times. Second thing is your perspective on India's deep tech shift in terms of AI, semiconductors, India stack. And I would assume that you are also part of many conversations with policymakers and investors here in India and globally. So you see both ambition as well as gaps. And the third thing is what really stands out to me is how you talk to the founders, not just the strategy, but also psychology, the emotional side. And I have watched your um, Ask Me Anything sessions and few interviews.
Right.
You speak with honesty and range, and that really lands. And I found your answers quite unfiltered, authentic, and filled with grounded reality. And I could connect to that very easily. And we share some common threads, don't we? I mean, we both call Hyderabad our home. I know you don't mince words when it comes to Hyderabadi biryani, and I get it. I'm in that club too. And yes, golf. We haven't played around together, but we have crossed paths a couple of times on the courses and look forward to catching up games sometime. So, welcome once again and look forward to our conversation.
Thank you, Subrata. And when these words come from the mouths of accomplished folks like you, it means a lot. Yes, I think you use the right word, unfiltered. I'm known for among my friend circle and peers that I'm an unfiltered guy. Sometimes that does land me in trouble, but not for a too long. But once people know me, they know what I mean, and I mean good for the greater cause. And I always believed only in one thing. I have too many bruises on my body, and if I can share those bruises openly and candidly with others so that they don't get those bruises and they don't fallen way too many times in life. And God has been great that He has lifted me up. But if I can give that safe space, whoever it is, the entrepreneurs or the friends, and share that so that they don't have to fall. That would be my happiest moments.
Yep.
And yes, we do have common friends, common threads, common city. For me, from since I was growing up as a 3-year-old boy, Hyderabad has been my city. Though we are family wise, we are from Rayalaseema. I always, in my mind, I'm a Hyderabadi. I don't think that anyone can ever take that
Hyderabad
particular
out of
feeling
you.
away from me. Yeah.
Sure. Let's go back a little. Your journey will be inspiring. And so our audience would like to know about you as a person. So tell me, where did you grow up? What was those early years like? What was the family environment, community, education that you have that actually shaped who you are today?
Thank you, Subrata. I am born in a small rural town called Hindupur. It is in the Anantapur district, the hinterlands of Rayalaseema. Come from a middle class family. Dad was a reader in mathematics. Later on, he became professor in mathematics at JNTU here in Hyderabad. Dad was quite industrious in a sense that he always used to experiment, trying to create streams of revenues for the family. We owned and operated the first bar and restaurant in Hindupur for a very long time. Dad had a very eclectic circle of friends, from union ministers to local teachers community. In fact, Dad was good friends of late Prime Minister Manmohan Singh ji when he was a UGC chairman, and we had that kind of an exposure even though we were in rural. And Mom is a homemaker, but she comes from a well-to-do family with political patronage. My grandmother in those days donated quite a bit of wealth of her own to the Swarajya movement started by Gandhiji. And during Gandhiji's Padayatra, she gave away a lot of gold. So we come from that kind of a lineage. The grandparents are from Kakinada, that side, my maternal side, and father's side from Anantapur. So their marriage is a mystery of making, because in those days, Rayalaseema and Andhra would never come together from marriage alliances part. But that is a different love story in making and happened. And here I am. I'm the third child in the family. I always call myself as an accidental child. I mean, all the third borns are always accidentals. I call it. So that's a bit of a background. I went to
Wonderful.
Ramakrishna Mission School
Yeah.
until fifth grade. Then I went to Chinmaya Vidyalaya from fifth grade onwards. Very proud of the fact that I got exposed to Indian culture and Indian mythology and Vedic in Vedanta in a sense, right? I had the good fortune of meeting Swami Chinmayananda as well when I was in the fifth grade. So maybe those imprints had their own marks in my uh, body, mind, and soul in a very subtler manner, right? So that's my little background from a childhood point of view.
I also hear you using some Vedanta Bhagavad Gita slokas during your speech. We have international audiences, but that's good. At any point in time, you feel like um, reciting or saying a verse with explanation, that will be good.
I
Um,
will. I'll certainly.
I
I'll
am
certainly do that.
Tell me, were there any entrepreneurs in your family? You mentioned about your father. Apart from that, did you grow up in a typical entrepreneurial environment, or?
No, actually, funny. Except dad and his experiments with business. I did not. We are not a business family. I mean, pretty much a service oriented family. So I mean, very academic in a sense, right? And given the dad's profession, we our family, my immediate family, that's me, my mom, my brother, sister, we grew up in a very nuclear way, right? We did not grow up with extended family. So in some sense, we were isolated in that manner. So very normal academic upbringing,
Got
I
it.
would say.
Got it. So after that, you went from Hindupur to Washington D.C. Then that was a big shift, and I'm sure, uh, uh,
Absolutely a big shift, yes.
and not just distance wise, but I would imagine it's a mindset shift, isn't it? I mean, what was this move like, and how did it start shaping how you think? I heard you speaking somewhere said about your entrepreneurial soul developed in Silicon Valley. So give us a perspective about that shift and how that changed who you are today.
No, thank you, Subrata. I think that's a very important milestone in my life, right? I never wanted to go to US. In fact, when I was growing up, I had a bit of a political leaning to be a political leader. I was my college's science secretary. So I did all kinds of, mischievous things, to get elected and all that stuff, right? And I always wanted to play cricket. I used to play for my university, and I wanted to go to Australia, Sydney especially, and join a cricket club to hone my cricketing skills, and so that I could become a club player. In fact, I had done a lot of research, and I had all kinds of preparatory work was done for me to go to Sydney as soon as my undergrad is done, right? But as I mentioned earlier, my dad had an eclectic set of friends, and one such friend is a Nawabi friend from Hyderabad. Uncle's name is SLN Ahmad. He was, one of the rich friends of dad, and dad brought me to his house for a dinner, and batom batome, he said, so where are you sending Murli? So he said, this bugger wants to go to Australia. So my uncle says, have you ever considered US? I said, no, I don't want to. He said, then he called my dad and said, hey, you want your son to be, study and studious, do well in life, send him to US. You want him to have a great time, enjoy life, send him to Australia. the choice is there. So right then and there, I could see my dad changing his entire thing and perspective. We come back to the hotel. He says, Murli, you are going to US. I made my mind. That's about it. And the next day, dad, he knew Visu Consultants founder, CC Reddy, and he takes me to him and says, coming from the same Rayalaseema, and he knew him. Anyway, to cut the story short, I'm preparing for TOEFL, I'm preparing for GRE. Visu Consultants is helping me admission. I had zero knowledge on the universities. What I landed getting some 5 or 6 admission letters, and I pick one because it is Washington DC. Go to for my visa appointment in Chennai. I land in Washington DC on July 27th of 1993, right? So all these things happened, Subrata, in 3 months time frame. You can imagine the shift and whatever. And my first 6 months of US life as absolute miserable. Imagine a guy from Hindupur who had not traveled and first international trip going to US and Washington DC. I'm the youngest child, homesick. I was pampered to the core in the family. Never lifted a spoon, never lifted a plate. Now I have to do my own dishes. I had to clean the toilet. Oh, I mean, I had the worst, nightmares in my first 6 months. But I must mention one gentleman, Subrata. I must mention. It is such an unfortunate thing that I don't remember his name. He's a salesman, car salesman, Honda car salesman in Bethesda, Maryland. He used to come to a restaurant where I used to work part time. And every day he would give me such an encouragement because for some reason I started talking to him. He said, Murli, if after 6 months you still hate US, I will be the one who will buy your ticket and put you on the flight. This is my word. He's from Delhi. And I said, fine. And we started chatting. I don't know what miracle, right? Exactly on the 6th month, I just started enjoying my life in US and just became so, attuned to the entire culture and how it made me a better person, look at things in a different perspective, a complete shift of who I was and what I was and what I can achieve. So I must thank him for giving that encouragement wherever he is. I really appreciated he being there as just person who I never met, right? I mean, except when he first walked into that restaurant. But then we developed that kinship, and
Yep.
it was a great experience for me.
Wonderful. And then eventually you made a decision to return to Hyderabad, I think in 2008.
That's
And
correct.
after spending some good number of years in the US and Silicon Valley.
Right.
So now, I can imagine those days, right? It is not a move that many entrepreneurs would have made at that time. Okay. And so what was pulling you back? And when did it become clear to you that your work wouldn't just be about building companies, pursuing your dream and entrepreneurial journey, but it is about enabling other people to build it?
So the enabling others to build it was a calling which happened in 2009, right? When I came back, but 2008. Actually, Subrata, you asked me earlier. That bug of entrepreneurship. Yes, I used to work for a company called Siebel in San Mateo,
Yeah.
just outside San Francisco. I used to do every week from Virginia to California. I just loved that energy in Silicon
Mm.
Valley, right?
Yeah.
That was my first taste of blood, if you were to say. My first money, the big money, came from there. Even though I was, up until then, I was well paid, but the real, money I saw only in Siebel in the form of stock options and how one could really become wealthy, right?
Yeah.
And that is when I transitioned into investing as well. I had put my first money into a gas station which was opened by along with another friend of mine in US. So you that is when the seeds of entrepreneurship and the angel investment had gone into my mind. And as part of that journey, I had made a significant investment into India, into hospitality venture, which we saw through the Google Maps and the Excel spreadsheet. We wanted to come as a chain between lemon tree and ginger. Those days, at $100 a night, we'll offer a glass of wine and maybe a pedicure or a manicure kind of a concept for any business traveler who would come in. Should be relaxed. Maybe we were a bit of ahead of time. I don't know. So we came. We invested there. A year later, three of our partners, me and two other friends who had co-invested, decided that one has to go back to India to look into this investment and get the operations right. And lo and behold, I was the chosen one. So but thanks to my wife, we decided to move back, and she had no problem moving back. So in about 3 months, we decided, packed, sold everything, moved to India. That was in October 2008. I still remember October 5th, I landed in India, and I'm here. That venture did not go well. We lost all the money we had invested. We couldn't recover. But great lessons, great friends through that process. That is how I got introduced to TiE Hyderabad, even though I was introduced to TiE way back in late 90s or mid 90s. When a friend of mine, in fact, I recently did a LinkedIn post giving tribute to my friend Narendra, who used to work for Frank Wisner, that then ambassador to India from US, right? US ambassador to India. He's the one who spoke about TiE and wanted Narendra to be involved. Narendra gets me involved, and then fast forward, again I got involved in Hyderabad. So that's the bug of giving back to the community, entire ecosystem building, all that happened. So now you see me where I am today.
Interesting. So now let's talk about TiE, because you just mentioned it, right? So it's a name people, I'm sure, may have heard in startup circles, but many don't fully grasp how deep the roots go, or how broad the impact is. So for founders or investors new to TiE, how would you describe it, what it does today, and what's the big mission it is driving?
I mean, it's a great question, right, Subrata? See, when few visionaries, dream or come together, what can happen and how something can become a global force of entrepreneurial movement. 1992, when 7 founders came together and said, we need to, not just mobilize the capital, but we need to mobilize the community and the confidence, all matters, right, together. And that's how the TiE was born, right? It is the Indus entrepreneurs in those days, basically Indus Valley and the US, Indus, all kinds of. So the name was chosen in a very, very meticulous manner. So it's a, so proud of the fact that, it is, the vision mission became only one thing, right? It is the virtuous cycle of wealth creation. We believe that the wealth creation through entrepreneurship is not just legitimate, but it is the essential factor. And those who have succeeded must give more of themselves to lift others, right? I mean, we always speak about putting the ladder down. When you have climbed up to a particular story, put the ladder down so other people can grow up, right? And that's the basic tenet, and that is the virtuous cycle of wealth creation through entrepreneurship, or by fostering entrepreneurship, is what TiE stands for, and that is what we are. And we believe, and our DNA is, we have core values, Subrata, and that is the beauty of and TiE. And now today we are 33-year-old, and that is because we believe in the ethical leadership, right? Intellectual honesty. It's the goodness of a human being which comes together, right? And I think if I have to summarize this whole thing into maybe a one-liner, right? We are net givers, quote unquote. We are net givers, contributing more to the world than what we take from it, right? That's how I would summarize TiE to anyone, either who is new or who is, the essence of TiE is about net givers.
I heard you speaking about it. It's good that you mentioned it. You said shift of mindset from net takers to net givers. And
Absolutely, Subrata. In fact, what I call it in my personal, my mantra has been that we are not a transactional organization, but a transformational organization
yeah,
of net takers into net givers. So we want to transform every entrepreneur, wannabe entrepreneur. I mean, there's nothing wrong by taking, right?
yeah,
But can we be there as in the background, as a backbone of that journey, where we transform that individual from net taker to net giver, so this virtuous cycle of entrepreneurship or virtuous cycle of wealth
yeah,
creation
yeah.
continues.
So before our conversation, Murli, I had opened it up on the LinkedIn to see if any founders would probably have one or two questions to ask you. So one specific way that TiE has accelerated startup path to scale or exit that other organizations haven't replicated. I think what they have in mind is how other, being the CII or NESCOM. So if you have to look at it from that perspective, what is that TiE have done in terms of further acceleration?
I think, Subrata, I want to say that because we ourselves are entrepreneurs, right? All the charter members or the net givers are entrepreneurs by and large. They have, as I began to explain in my starting monologue, right? That I have so many scars. Unlike that, every charter member has a scar or two, which they candidly share with the upcoming or wannabe entrepreneurs in an unfiltered manner, right? And we are right there in between the inclusivity and the merit, right? And we fundamentally believe that every entrepreneur matters, right? Whether the entrepreneur is in Boston or is in Bangalore, right? Whether the entrepreneur is in Siliguri or whether the entrepreneur is in Seattle, right? It doesn't matter to us. We want to include that entrepreneur. We want to encourage students. We want to encourage middle managers from an organization. We want to encourage women entrepreneurs.
A quick timeout. I see many of you are watching but not subscribing. So if you're enjoying this, smash that subscribe button, hit like and share it with someone who would love it too. Every bit of support fuels me to bring you even bigger ideas and insights. Thank you for your support. Now, back to the action.
So that's where I think TiE is very, very different. And by the way, the biggest difference in my view, Subrato, is that we are not obnoxious about it. We are very subtle, right? We are a catalyst in that manner, right?
Got
We in this world of entrepreneurship, we play
got
that catalytic role, and that's how we are different, right? We are a
got it.
very giving organization.
Okay, got it. So, for a founder who may be listening today and who is interested in getting involved in TiE, maybe he is in or she is in tier two, tier three cities or wherever they are. What's the best way to start, Murli? How does one, this startup, actually become part of TiE community?
So the easiest thing is go to tie.org, and we have their membership thing, right? For a wannabe entrepreneur, young entrepreneur, right? That is the easiest, and that application does get moved to the closest, geographically closest chapter if they did not have a chapter in that area, right? Or I mean, reach out a person like me, right? I mean, Murali at TiE.org. I mean, any of our entrepreneurs, any charter member, I've never seen any charter member not reply to any entrepreneur who has reached out. If he or she is unable to help, they will always direct that person to someone else who can help. But they never shy away from saying that, hey, I don't know, but here is an individual who may be able to help you. And the other thing is to get involved with our programs, right? I mean, if you're looking for angel investment, we have TiE Angels, right? If you're a college student, and we have TiE University. You are a woman entrepreneur, TiE Woman. Now, TiE Woman is a larger than 10,000 member community across, I mean, I don't know, 46 or 50 different countries, Subrata. It's such a beautiful program. Even in the regions where we do not have chapters, we have members coming from. We have these platforms and programs in which these wannabe entrepreneurs can get involved with.
Sure. I understand you serve as a chair of TiE Global. And if I'm not mistaken, you are the only second India based entrepreneur to hold that position in over 3 decades. Yes?
That is correct, and I'm absolutely proud of that fact. And I mean, if I can say, I'm the first Telugu person from the combined states to have become that, um, you know, to be in that position. And I'm truly blessed. I have fantastic um, 10 other entrepreneurs who are serving. I've been on the global board for now, this is my 6th year. But Subrata, I'm so blessed to be a boy from Hindupur going to the, such a global position. And I jokingly say with my friends that the lessons no MBA could have taught me, right, or
Yeah.
teach me. Um, this is, I mean, brilliant experience.
Now, obviously, that's quite a meaningful milestone for sure. And your journey, as you have described, spans from Hindupur, Hyderabad, Washington, D.C., Silicon Valley, being an entrepreneur, and now you are leading TiE Global Network globally. How do you leverage that global perspective to position India's startup to the world stage? Say, connecting them to Silicon Valley or Singapore ecosystem. How do you play or enable that process?
This is a great question, Subrata, and this is what we've been endlessly discussing in our, board as well, right? See, without US chapters being strong and have that oomph factor, the Indian chapters would not have that global connects. And without the market of India, the US and the European chapters might not have the role to play. So both of them have to come together. And we the entire TiE ecosystem, we believe that whatever we do, we don't do events. We call it as a movement, right? Where it is a movement of entrepreneurship. It's a moment of celebration. It's a moment of transformation, right? For us, everything is a move, right? And that's where our global summits, right? TiE Global Summit, which we celebrate once a year, where all the chapters in the ecosystem come together and create this opportunity for the entrepreneurs from various regions to connect with the fantastic mentors, investors, knowledge givers to come together. That's one way. Second, the local chapters do some events. Some of the most of the chapters do what is called as a TiECon, which our mothership TiE Silicon Valley has given, again, as a giving back to the larger TiE community. The TiECons enable the local local entrepreneurial ecosystem, strengthen the ecosystem locally, and so that they can connect to global entrepreneurs. And recently, in fact, Subrato, this conversation is so appropriate. 2 days back, I had the privilege of launching a program or a platform called TiE Engage to connect with all our global charter members, and eventually we will connect our associate members as well globally. But as a first step, we have taken to connect all the 4,000 charter members across the 63 chapters, and had the privilege of launching it from the birthplace of the person who has given us the House of TiE, the Bible for TiE and how the ethos of TiE should evolve, P.K. Prahlad. So I was in Coimbatore and I launched that program from there. So launched that platform from there. So these are the things in which we are enabling entrepreneurs across the world and the globe connect with each other.
Wonderful. So those who are listening, just log into that program. Launch. How do they log in? Is there a
Engage, so engage.tie.org. So
That's it? So
yeah.
just log in and figure it out.
So for
You
right now, it is for the charter members, and very soon, in 3-4 months, after the entire this thing, it will be open for all the members of the TiE. So
Great.
a person from Siliguri can connect with a person from Seattle. We are
Right.
enabling that.
Enabling and removing some of the friction points. Okay.
Yes.
You also run a company called Volksy Technologies. For those listening who may not be familiar, what is Volksy and what does it actually do?
Pratho, I mean, as I said, I'm a crazy guy and I'm an entrepreneur, right? So in 2017, I was, had too many ideas coming up, too many opportunities which I was seeing, and of course, I won't be able to do everything on my own, right? So I decided that can I create a venture studio, right? And in fact, I mean, this idea is not mine. And I got inspired by Bill Gross, who's the founder of Idea Labs. I mean, he has built a mega billion-dollar, venture studio. I mean, you today, if you name, whatever the companies which you see, he has a hand in it. I think he has more than 250 companies in his portfolio. I mean, the man is a legend, very humble guy, right? I do wish one of these days I do get a chance to meet him and shake his hand. So from him, this idea came, got inspired. I said, I need to start a venture studio. And Volksy is a venture studio. In 2017, we started slowly with incubating 3 ideas. And at one period, we had about 8 different teams working on 8 different ideas. And the thing is very simple, Subrata. Idea or opportunity, I would assemble team of management or the entrepreneurial mindset, about 4 or 5 people per idea. I would pay them, industry salaries,
Mm,
and I will give them an equity up to 26%. But
mm,
my only ask from each team would be to make it, generate revenue within 6 months, right? Revenue, I mean, doesn't mean profitable. It could
mm.
be 10 rupees, it could be 100 rupees, it could be $100. Doesn't matter. They have to generate. So that means a proof of a product market fit has to be there, proved, and then we would, look at other things. So lots of ups and downs, burnt a lot of cash in the process. I've not raised any private money; it's all my money. So today I have only, out of that 8, I have 3 active ventures. One is um, you know just lying there.
Right.
One day I might get some money out of it, or at least my investment back. But other 2, I'm hopeful and keeps the company afloat.
Right.
For last 1 year or 1.5 year, I've not ventured into creating any new ventures out of the venture studio. I'm just trying to get these 3
Mm,
stabilized and move forward. So
yeah.
hopefully next year onwards. I mean, this year I'm totally occupied with my current voluntary job. But next year I hope to bring that back into full force and try to put more companies under the umbrella and create entrepreneurial employment through that process.
So
That
if
is
it,
the works in a
sure.
nutshell.
How do you decide an idea is a good idea or a bad idea?
So, Subrata, actually, my mindset is not about idea at all.
Ah,
What do I decide is whether the founder is adaptable, flexible, keen to learn, and that is what I invest in, or that is what I connect the founders as well. If I find that founder is stubborn, obstinate, I probably might not. I try to find excuses to not to meet him again
so
or meet
founder
the
first,
individually.
idea second. Yeah. So founder first, idea second.
Absolutely. For me, found is always
Wow.
founder first, right?
Oh,
It is just the fact that it is very, very important for me that founders have to be uh, you know very adaptable, right? I mean, they
right.
have to seek that feedback and need to be good at listening. If they're a good listeners, and I'm absolutely thrilled with
Got
that
it.
fact.
All right. Before we move on to the next segment, I have one more question. And that is, how does somebody become chair of TiE Global? Is there a 10-page application that you have to submit, series of interviews, and the board reviews it, and someday they come and say, "Oh, congratulations, Murali, now you're in charge." Does it work like that?
No, I think, Subrata, I think your intent matters, right? At any point of time. See, it is not. I, it's not the first time I tried. We have an election process. The
Right.
trustees they elect you, right? I did try to become chair in 2022. I wasn't successful. But actually, I must mention that it was my son. I guess he was 14-year-old at that point of time, who gave me a bit of a life lesson and said, how perseverance matters and your intent matters, and you should never give up. So I continue to do what I never wanted to do things for the position. So I continued to give back. So eventually, all the trustees felt that I'm the person to, lead the board and, be the face of the organization in some sense. So I think at the end of the day, there's no application. Your intent, your hard work, how you give back, and I mean, whatever said and done, Subrato, I carry TiE on my sleeves. Somehow, I resonate with ethos of TiE so much that I keep chanting about TiE as a mantra. I don't think there's anyone else I personally have heard who talk about. I'm so passionate about TiE. It's not that I've got, what do you call, explicit benefit out of TiE, but I think it has transformed me as in a human being. And that transformation I value a lot, Subrato, in a very unexplainable words. So
Fantastic.
hence, I think that's how I got rewarded.
Fantastic.
And it's a blessing. At the end of the day, it's a blessing from the higher powers, and the nature has to come together. And I think nature has come together.
So let's zoom out for a minute, right? So we talked about your journey, we talked about TiE, but now I want to get into AI, India innovation leap. India has over 160,000 plus recognized startups, plus minus here and there, growing unicorn count, bold bets into deep tech, digital infrastructure, semiconductor. But when you compare us with the ecosystem like Silicon Valley or even Tel Aviv in Israel, the real differentiator isn't about just the number of startups that you have. It's also about how fast the startups scale, exist, recycle talent into the next wave. So, what do you think is India's single biggest bottleneck, and how does TiE aim to bridge that gap?
I think is a fantastic question, and brother, there's something which I resonate very well. Right, it is not the number of startups, but it is what you are doing at the end of the day, right? And as you asked me in the previous question, I do meet so many startups, and while they have this, desire to be called as an entrepreneur, but sometimes I don't see that hunger to become an entrepreneur, right? See, it is about doing something which world needs, right? And doing that in the most efficient manner, and getting paid for it in that process, is this entire journey. But somewhere, I think, maybe now, last 1 year, 1.5 year, I'm seeing a shift where people are becoming a lot more humble and a lot more grounded. But there was a period where every entrepreneur who I met or who I came across was only trying to go and raise capital, and
Mm.
trying to be an influencer kind of a sort, try to get their name in the newspaper, try to get their name on a magazine or get onto
Yeah.
the panel, but not, sit in a corner and try to build, what it is required. Subrata, interestingly, about a month or a couple of months ago, I was visiting the Tech Mahindra incubator here in Hyderabad. And there are two startups. One were creating the vest for the people who are working in the manufacturing side, in the industrial warehouses, and the other on the agriculture robotic space, trying to kill the weeds. I had never heard of them from a newspaper point of view, or the glitz and the glamour, but the progress which I saw was amazing, right? They had raised that first round of capital. They're building the teams in an unassuming way. Fantastic set of entrepreneurs, and that is the entrepreneurial mindset which we must encourage. We must teach our young enablers to not to get worried about the glitz and the glamour. And the second most important thing, Subrata, I think we will get there, right? Yes, we have a call to create 1 million entrepreneurs. We want to create, and you must have seen some of the posts by Kanwal Rekhi as well. We are talking about how India should generate this, and I do firmly believe that India as a country must have that many entrepreneurs. But
No doubt.
the entrepreneurial mindset must come from the second tier and third tier cities. So when I went to Lucknow, I saw the entrepreneurs there. When I went to Coimbatore, I saw the entrepreneurs. When I went to Mysore, I'm seeing the entrepreneurs who are doing well. So it's a very different entrepreneurial activity that is coming through from these towns, and I think that must be encouraged either from the incubators, accelerators, and the capital flows. So we could become Tel Aviv, we could become Israel as a startup nation, right? We could have multiple startup nations in India, and that is the beauty of India.
I do not know how you feel about that. Even when I engage with some of the founders, I realize that they have been working very quietly. They're making big difference, but they are not in the headlines. They are not in the VC circle. They are not. You will not see them in the big flashy magazines cover. But once you understand what they're doing, the impact is pretty profound. How do we make sure we really identify these jewels who are spread across different places within India? I'm sure you do when you meet with so many of them.
So, Subrata, this is what yes, there must be some effort to nurture these diamonds in the rough. But when you are a diamond, you will shine through. A bit of a polish is required, and then the value of the diamond will be known to the world. But on the contrary to that, Subrata, is that you see a lot of people who are actually glass, but they give a coat of that luster as if they are diamonds and projected. Sorry to use this word, but these fake diamonds kind of do a injustice to the real diamonds, and that is where organizations like TiE plays and must play a pivotal role, saying that how do I differentiate, sieve out the real diamonds and present the real diamonds wherever they're from, right? To the world, whether they're from Raipur, right, or Idaho, right? That's the whole idea of organizations like TiE, where we need to create that.
Yeah. So founders who are listening, and if you are doing some great work, do log in to TiE.org and figure it out. And you might get some support in terms of mentorship and so many things. Building on that, Murali, I wanted to ask you one more thing. India long been known for its IT services backbone, but are you seeing today a real shift toward product first innovation, specifically in sectors like health tech or AI or SaaS or any of those areas?
To some extent, but not to a large extent, Subrata, where I would like to see. We are a services organization or a country as a nation. India is. It is, I mean, a small country like Estonia has created a large number of products and product economy. Israel, if you compare, I mean, so much of product, especially in the anti-fraud, cybersecurity, and those kind of segments. So I think India does need to be in that segment. We are doing our best to change that, but I do feel that it's still a long way to go. And it's just because of the talent and availability of resources and all that stuff which needs to happen.
Yeah, but it may be more than talent, right? So, what is really missing in India's founder to founder loop? You create an ecosystem around you, you recruit more people, and you go to the next. How do we accelerate the ecosystem's ability to regenerate itself from within?
So actually, Subrata, that's a great the thing. I see. Unfortunately, this thing we are still a nation or a ecosystem or a culture who are afraid of failures, right? When someone in fact, recently I was listening on the corridor. Someone, hey, you failed like 5 6 times. So I said, so what? Big deal. I mean, he one good thing we have to appreciate is not giving up, right? I mean, he has not taken the funds or whatever. To further, I mean, he's still he's wearing the same jeans pant and he's still in the sandals, and he's not driving a BMW. I mean, there might be few bad apples, Subrata, but majority of the entrepreneurs who I've come across, they really want to try and become good at what they want to do. Sometimes those helping mechanisms might not be available for them, and as and when we can democratize that knowledge, democratize the mentoring capabilities, right? And that is where I think organizations like TiE has to come forward and try to open more and more chapters in the tier 3 and tier 4 places, have availability of good 20 mentors in each of those areas. So these hundreds of entrepreneurs can come out and explore. And we as parents also, we need to tell ourselves, forget about telling our kids, that tell ourselves first, it is okay to fail. I mean, it is
Mm.
okay for them to experiment, right? It is okay for them to get to a point where they will figure out what it is they want to achieve, and that's the beauty of what we should be doing.
Sure. Let's talk about the India semiconductor sovereignty, right? In one of my own research work on Force PO episodes, I talked about India truly, really own its own chip future, or are we just leasing leverage from others? There is a lot happening, as you know. Micron is setting up plants in Gujarat, Tata's fab in Dholera. There is a $10 billion incentive package on semiconductor, but there are headwinds. For example, the Vedanta Foxconn fallout, power infrastructure gaps, heavy reliance on players like TSMC and ASML. So, from your vantage point, working closely with the founders, policymakers, do you see India's semiconductor push as a real game changer for startups, or are we still too tied to global supply chains and geopolitics?
I think we are still tied to the geopolitics. I mean, what I would call it as we are getting the brunt of the geopolitical matters, Subrato. And I think we will change that, right? I mean, there is an opportunity for us to play a very important role. We are definitely what I would call as the semiconductor south versus semiconductor north. We are no longer in the desert, where you still find a lot of countries don't have any GPU or the semiconductor presence. But India is definitely in a much better situation than other nations. But are we anywhere closer to US and India? No, I mean US and China, right? I mean, as you rightly mentioned, the Tata's, collaboration with the PSMC and the Dolera, that definitely will give a flip. In fact, that is the one which I am banking on to give the flip to this entire semiconductor industry, because my conversations with the decision makers of the semiconductor industry in the Silicon Valley has led me to believe that until now they were waiting for a credible partner to come forward and say, hey, we are
Yeah,
going to invest this and this is what. And so with Tata stepping up and Tata's
yeah,
coming forward with the Dolera plant, I think you will see the change in next couple of years. I know
yeah.
one of a one of the major player is now trying to work and put the entire supply chain network around the semiconductor industry, whether it is the wafers, whether it is the gases, whether it is the huge lab setups which needs to happen. I think there is a huge game for India to play. And I think India will play, but are we there yet? And no, I mean, that is just, I think we are a calamity of the geopolitics. But I think if we get our public policy right, and if we can play our cards right, we will be in the race. India must not be just a spectator, right? I think it can take that leadership with responsibility and strategically to play that important role.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not suggesting that we probably need to build our own TSMC. I mean, let's not try and reinvent what others are doing. We don't want to become an Nvidia, for example. But even if we are today building, let's say, 24 nanometer chips, which are going into the cars and manufacturing environments, which are still okay because we are still slowly going to get there. But for a startup, let's say with $1 million seed money, if they want to play a role in ecosystem, there could be multiple opportunities, right? I mean, they don't have to all build and manufacture chips. They can come up with some power optimization capabilities using AI, can look at sovereign LLM tool chain for reference kits, or they can look at lightweight data centers orchestrations or cooling solutions, so many other things, right? So how do we get more founders to see this opportunity layer, which India is probably not late, but we are early, and there is a huge runway ahead of us.
Absolutely, Subrata. And I think in your question itself, there is so many answers, right? Now, in fact, one of the leading semiconductor players is enabling that cooling systems, right?
Yeah.
I mean, optimizing that, and you will see either later part of this year or early part of next year some big announcements from this leading player in semiconductors enabling, and you will see TiE's role in it. They want TiE to play a big role, especially trying to help entrepreneurs from the Indian circuit to play that role. In fact, I'll quote verbatim what I heard. China will continue to build chips, right, or the entire semiconductor, supply chain, but it will be for China,
Correct.
and there will be the rest of the world. And for the rest of the world, India must play, and India should play, is what this particular company said. And they are planning to do $1 billion investment in creating the ecosystem around the supply chain, enabling the cooling mechanisms, trying to play this AI enabled. What are the ways? You're absolutely right. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, and they're not expecting India to reinvent the wheel, but they want India to be an absolute strategic partner in enabling this entire supply chain of semiconductors, right? The industry is looking forward. So, as I said, they were waiting for a pivotal moment, and the startup partnership and government, catalyzing that partnership of Tata's, right? So one of the things which they were saying is, until now there were a lot of conversations which happened over the last couple of decades, but this kind of a solid partner coming forward and said, putting the stake in the ground never happened. So now we are very, very excited. Now we will put $1 billion to enable this. So now imagine, many other companies coming forward and putting billions of dollars into the Indian entrepreneurs. Definitely,
Right.
I do see a brighter side for Indian semiconductor entrepreneurs in the coming decade.
Yes. And if you look at the ecosystem, right? I mean, uh, people give an example like 1800 gold rush. Now, in the gold rush times, the people who made the maximum money, not the miners. The people who made the maximum money were the people who built tools for the miners.
Absolutely.
So, So this is India's moment.
I mean, support the suppliers, tool makers, the
Yes,
testing units, right? I mean, there are so many things which we can be looking at, lithography systems or whatever, right? I mean,
exactly,
there's so many things which we can be
exactly.
doing and playing, and we must play that absolute role. I mean, see, India is doing its bit, right? I mean, there is almost about a $10 billion of, I think, subsidies the
Exactly.
government is done, but the lot can be done, right? I mean,
Right.
but I next decade, Subrata, I'm very very hopeful. This Indian semiconductor industry, as you rightly said, for the gold rush of the the valley, India will be the tool supplier, and will do well on that. Yeah.
You just came back from Coimbatore. So we often, talk about India's next wave. You talk about semiconductor, but next wave of India innovation from tier two and tier three cities, places like Coimbatore, Bhubaneswar, Nagpur, God knows how many other places. And you mentioned Siliguri. Um, I was born close to Siliguri, a place called Jalpaiguri. So I know that place. There is a lot of energy, some emerging infrastructure. TiE chapters are expanding, which is encouraging, fantastic. But for someone listening to this, right, from one of those cities, trying to build with limited access to capital, mentors, or market visibility, what's the biggest friction they are likely to face today? And is it funding? Is it talent? Something more systemic?
Actually, Subrata, one of the biggest challenges for the entrepreneurs who are in the tier three or tier four is the go to market access for
Go
them.
to
So see, it is not never the funding, right? I mean, it is never and talent. Maybe yes, there could be some challenge of the talent, and go to market access is all about, like, from a competing manner, right? I mean, a person who is in the tier 3 tier 4, his ability to reach out to a decision maker is always with friction, whereas a person in a tier 1 has a better access than the entrepreneurs in the tier 3 tier 4. I mean, what we are trying to do is enable that and remove that friction, right?
Hmm.
So that if we find a quality entrepreneur and a quality product, try to enable that mechanism in which they can go reach out to the decision makers in a easier manner, and we will get there, right? So we have several examples of where TiE has played a role in creating the tier two entrepreneur success. I Because you asked me off the cuff, I don't want to misquote the name of the thing, but we have, I mean, several, right? I mean, not just one.
No, you don't have to give a name. But as you said, there are many such success stories. And I'm sure you must be hearing the stories of so many of them in your role.
Absolutely. As I said, I just came back from Coimbatore, and I meet these entrepreneurs who are coming from this tier two, and they have so much hunger in them, Subrato.
Yeah.
They really want to do something good for themselves. Say, again, I met there are two entrepreneurs I want to bring out. I never seen an innovation in paniyaram. So paniyaram is a dish which is from the same batter as idli. It's very very crisp taste. I'm from Rayalaseema, and it is a Rayalaseema dish. It's called Gunta Punganalu, right? And in
I
Tamil
have
Nadu, it
heard.
is called paniyarams. He had mixed various varieties of that paniyaram, like, paneer, chili, mutton, chicken. So he wanted to create dumplings from of Indian origin. So his entire market thing was the that particular call, right? Then second entrepreneur I met is the guy who was trying to make a self-cleaning, filter coffee machine, right? We had filter coffee machines, but then you had to mix and match before. But now he's trying to change that, and Coimbatore is always known for its automation
Yes.
manufacturing industry.
Yeah.
So he has created that. So it's such a nice thing for me to see such entrepreneurs coming forward and trying to create that. It's such a what do you call heartwarming experience, and that makes it a absolute
Fantastic.
encouragement to see this.
Fantastic. Okay, now shift a gear a bit, gear into AI. AI is no longer hype. So, what really comes to your mind about future of AI in India? Hey everyone, quick pause here. I have noticed that a lot of you watch the show but haven't subscribed yet. If you're finding this valuable, it would mean a lot if you hit the subscribe, like, and maybe even share it with a friend. It really helps me keep bringing you this kind of real, no fluff content. Thank you so much. Now let's dive right back into it.
We are no longer in the compute desert, right? As I said, we are in the compute south. We would like to be in the compute north, ideally speaking. But we are, it is what it is, right? I mean, we have to take, how do you eat an elephant in the room, right? You take bite by bite, right? And this entire AI thing is an elephant in the room. It will take, for the Indian entrepreneurs, the government, the ecosystem players, everything to come together, right? So that we play this game. I mean, we are nowhere near the million GPUs.
Yeah.
A particular organization can consume in US versus to 33,000 GPUs, which we can allocate to the various entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
As one of my friend was quoting recently, we were not even in the race, but now at least we got a high-speed car. Let's drive and see if we can enter into the formula race. I mean, while US and China, are in the formula race, India at least has now a high-speed car to see if we can create those mechanisms to compete, right? So that's where, from the AI point of view, where we are.
So, from VC's perspective, who looking at India's AI scene, what's the top sign of defensible AI startup? Is it proprietary data? Because India has got something which no other nation has, which is, to me, it is like we have this Aadhaar and eKYC and UPI, which is fantastic, and no other nation in the world will have such things. So when um, founders are building companies or products from VC's perspective, what could be the most defensible startup? What is the best risk-adjusted return?
For all these things, only one answer, Subrata. I'll say it is a go-to-market, right?
Go to market.
If you have customers paying for it, do you, as a startup, irrespective of what startup you are, or so the VCs or the investors are only looking at, are you making money, and are you capable of making money? If you are making money, at what percentage are you making, and which industry are you in, and what kind of returns and what kind of IRRs can I give back? And can I, if you are doing a SaaS platform, can I reach $100 million ARR, in an expedited time frame, given the AI and what's happening in the space of AI with respect to any industry? Or if I'm in the defense manufacturing sector, can I build the technology which could be deterrent for the other nations to come and attack me, right? I mean, I have an organization in Hyderabad which has a superb capability from the drones point of view, right? So that's the kind of what innovations or space which the investors are looking forward to, and from a returns point of view, what they would like to bet on.
Let me make it a bit simpler for founders or investors who may be listening, right? So earlier we talked about semiconductor and AI, semiconductor and chips ecosystem. We briefly touched upon AI. So if there are three categories of opportunities, one which is infrastructure enablers, it could be any of those things that you talked about earlier, Murali, cooling solutions to API that boost uptime, reduce latency, anything of that nature. Second, AI native apps for on India stack. It could be on payments, commerce, health. You talked about an agri company, agri, whatever. So second, third, like Bharat GPT now building, special language model for Indian context. So a farmer in Bangalore can talk to another person in Bengal, and both could be using their own language but communicate and transact. So if they have got these three broad categories, which are the ones you think the founder should focus more, or where do you see the opportunity?
Yeah, so that's what I say. So, Subrata, I don't think a founder should focus on something like a flavor of the
Month.
month or the flavor of the year. So, people should, focus on what we can do for the decade, right? I mean, so it means that we should not focus on, one particular aspect or the element. They should look at a very in a holistic manner what they can solve a problem for a decade or longer, right? You so you I mean in a very layman terms, I'm not just going to date someone, but I'm going to marry someone. Can I have a lifelong or a long-term view about that particular relationship so that I can solve the problem? So it is not about a Bharat LLM, or it is not just a defense or whatever. So it is about the individual entrepreneur and his ability to crack the go-to-market segment, and his ability to find a solution in that space is what one should be going after.
Fantastic. Okay, great. Let's move to the next segment, which is about what founders really need. So founders often, face isolation, high stakes decision, uncertainty. What's one mentorship framework or tool that comes to your mind that can help founders navigate a cash crunch or a pivot situation?
So, Subrata, I think the absolute model one should have is danda, right? At the end of the day, if I don't have cash flows, I am doing except the certain heavy investment, flown industries, right? But otherwise, in a general context, from an Indian context, I think if every entrepreneur can focus on the cash flows, um, um, profitability will automatically come if you can stick to the cash flows, and that is the model one should look for. But I think more fundamental question which we all should ask is whether that entrepreneur has a mentor and have a right mentor, right? um, um, Dronacharya is a great mentor, but is a great mentor for Arjuna, but not for Ekalavya. So, are you going to be Ekalavya or are you going to be Arjuna? Right? Is the Dronacharya for you or Dronacharya for someone else? If you can figure that out, I think your problems will be solved for a longer and larger context.
Yeah. Early stage founders often feel pressure to project confidence, right? Even when they're struggling. What's your advice for founders dealing with doubt, fear behind the scene?
Subrata, this is the favorite thing, and I think I kind of mentioned it recently in one of my video casts also. Be vulnerable. There is no reason for you to pretend, anything what you are not, right? There are hundreds of folks who are ready and willing to help you as long as you're vulnerable and you're honest and you really want to do something and you have the capability of solving and finding that solution.
What's blind spot or a common trap that you see founders hit again and again?
Glamour and glitz. Don't go for glamour and glitz. Stay always under the radar. until if you are the diamond, you will be found. So don't worry about someone trying to not discovering you. It is their loss, not yours.
We come to the spark round, and which is my favorite round. So I'll have a couple of questions, and don't think, just answer it. I know your witty answers. You always have those witty answers. So are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Most overrated startup buzzword today. AI.
I'm AI company.
Okay. One founder habit you wish you could ban forever.
Show off.
If you could delete one startup cliche from LinkedIn, what would that be?
Mentor.
A sector everyone is ignoring but shouldn't be.
Agri and agri related, the entire chain of agri processing, food processing, and all that stuff.
One city in India that will surprise everyone in next 5 years.
There are 40 plus cities, Subrata, not just one. Not just, I mean, that's what I said. It's not one city, right? I mean, there will be 40 cities in India which is going to surprise the world, let alone India.
If you could put one rule on every pitch deck, what would that be?
Come straight to the point.
One thing about Indian founders that global VCs just don't get it.
Our ability to beat around the bush.
If TiE had a tagline for 2030 in 5 words or less, what would that be?
We will stick to the same one which we have, which is the virtuous cycle of wealth creation through fostering entrepreneurship.
And finally, who's one guest speaker that you would personally introduce to Spark and the Forge, someone who would truly light up the show like you did? And just to keep it real, will you promise to introduce?
My current vice chair, Anita Manwani, I'm very happy to introduce you to Spark, and she's a wealth of knowledge. She's from the Valley, done multiple. She comes with a lot of poise and experience.
Fantastic. Thank you. So, love that. Fast, fun, sharp. Couldn't be any better. Today's conversation, Murali, was a masterclass as far as I'm concerned in building from ground up, clarity, integrity, global ambition. We explored how to scale inclusive ecosystem beyond metros, why India's innovation arc is uniquely global, how TiE is evolving into mentorship, not just capital, community-based engine, and how founders can lead through uncertainty, not just with speed, but with depth and clarity. And if I always ask my guest one thing before we close, what is one idea that you would like listeners to walk away with today's episode, or one thing that you want people to walk away with?
Be vulnerable, be true to yourself, always carry a mirror where you can see yourself at every step of the way, and try to be better than what you are today, so you can keep improving.
Fantastic. And to everyone who's listening, thank you for tuning in. If this sparked ideas, challenged your assumptions, or made you see something very different, here is how you can keep the momentum going. You can like the episode. It helps others discover it. Share it with the founders, investors, ecosystem partners in your network, and subscribe to the Spark and the Forge on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your listen. And if something really stayed with you today, drop a comment on the LinkedIn with hashtag the spark and the forge, or just shoot me a note at subrata@subratacard.com. All details in the description. And Murali, I can't thank you enough. Thank you again. And to everyone out there, stay curious, stay intentional, keep forging ahead. Until next time, take care and bye for now. Thank you, Murali, so much.
Thank you, Subrata. Really appreciate it. It was a pleasure talking to you.